objectives. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to writing a close analysis and critical interpretation of literary texts, applying a reading approach, and doing an adaptation of these require from the learner the ability to identify representative texts and authors from Asia, North America, Europe, Latin America, and Africa. Identify the different ways one may evaluate a literary text, especially by examining its biographical context, sociocultural context, and linguistic context. Analyze different literary texts through different contexts using different critical reading strategies. Linguistic context. According to David Richer, particularly everything what we do that is specifically human is expressed in language. This is why literary text can be read through the context of the language used to write the text as well as the way language is used in the text. This literary reading adheres to Roland Barthes' famous maxim, "The author is dead." Reading through a linguistic context focuses on the language used in the literary work and how it is used to convey meaning. It means linguistic context refers to the context within the discourse, that is, the relationship between the words, phrases, sentences, and even paragraphs. For example, on a crowded playground with multiple people engaged a different action. Richly informative linguistic context. Example, "The girl in the jacket is swimming," may allow the listener to identify a specific agent and thus the event being labeled. Here are some reasons to read literature through the linguistic context. Reading the text on its own regardless of the author's biography and sociocultural context may help you understand the literary text through analyzing the words, sentences, patterns, imagery, and etc. of the text. Analyzing the literary text, grammar, syntax, or phonemic pattern may help you find the meaning of the text within its form and help you interpret it by simply analyzing the content of the literary work.
So take note of the following before reading a text through the socio-cultural context. So the first one is the structuralism. So the structuralism relates the text being examined to a larger structure. The structure may be a particular geography, a range of intellectual connections, a model of a universal narrative structure, or a system of recurrent patterns or motifs. So an example of a structuralism is describing an apple. So example is an apple is crisp, an apple is sweet, juicy, hard, and rough. So the second one is the formalism. Formalism is a school of literary criticism and literary theory that focus on the structure of a particular text. So it also examines a text without taking any account or any outside influence. So formalism is also concerned with the form of these texts. So the first one is the narrative, the syntax, the dictionary definition of words, the poetic forms, meter, styles, the poetical devices like metonymy and metaphor, and also the simile, or any parts that make up a literary work.
Post-structuralism. Post-structuralism is the reaction to structuralism in the linguistic context. Here may be underlying structural list that may have different interaction beside on how the word or phrases were used in the text. Some of the key assumption underlying structuralism include ang post-structuralism kay nakadepende sa kaugalingon sa nagbasa ay usaman ka singular nga konsepto kumbaga nara sa imong kaugalingon.
Critical reading strategies in literature. Sometimes we read for entertainment, leisure, and fun. It takes a keen observer and valid researcher to become a critical reader. Being a critical reader means that you do not aim to simply memorize facts and information in the text that you are reading. Being critical reader means that you are looking for ways of thinking about the subject matter of the text that you are reading. A critical reading means that a reader applies certain processes, models, questions, and theories that result in enhanced clarity and comprehension. There is more involved both in effort and
So, reviewing. Reviewing helps prepare your mind for the barrage of information that is to come when you do the actual reading. So before you begin reading the text, review it by gathering important information about it. When you preview a text, you skim it to get the big picture or an overview of the entire text. Consider the following. Who wrote the text? What is the author's other works? Where and when was the text published? What were the major events around the time the text was written or published? What can you infer about the text based on the title? What seems to be the general progression or organization of ideas based on the chapter, titles or section headings or subheadings? What is your purpose for reading the text?
What is annotating? Annotating, it involves highlighting or making notes of important ideas in the text. So, ang annotating is highlighting or underlining word and phrases or mga major ideas. So, mao ni siya mga common form of annotating text ug daghan sad tao gagamit ani nga method to make it easier to review material.
Conceptualizing. When you contextualize, you consider that historical, cultural, or biographical context of the text. Identify the context within S, in which the text was written, and determine how this context differs from your own. Keep in mind that your understanding of a particular concept is influenced by this context in the same way that they influence an author. Conceptualization means if it's the process of specifying what we mean, we use particular item. It is the reverse process of consciousness. Example, when we see the concept feminism, we make a list of phenomena perceiving in the concept.
outlining and summarizing. Outlining and summarizing the text help you identify the main ideas in the text you identify. The main ideas in the text and express them again in your own word. In outlining the text, you identify the basic structure of the text, the main ideas, and the supporting ideas, and make connection between those ideas. Outlining helps you understand how the author developed the text through the ideas presented. After making an outline, you can how summarize the text. Summarizing the text allows you to present your understanding of the text by reviewing and synthesizing important ideas and then restating them in your own word. Outlining and summarizing are especially helpful strategies for understanding the content and structure of a reading selection and rest. Outlining reveals that basic structure of the text. Summarizing synthesize selection means argument in brief.
Analyze a text details with examining information percentage to support the author's arguments. In analyze a text, you look at the evidence source and author's base. Consider the following question. So, ang ano daw is pagsusuri sa impormasyong hinaharap upang suportahan ang mga argumento ng may akda. Sa pagsusuring ng isang teksto, tignan mo ang ebidensya ng mga pinagmulan at base ng may akda. Is there enough evidence to support the author's argument? Does the evidence relate to and support the thesis or the main point the author is trying to? Are the pieces of evidence relevant, credible, and up to date? So ang ano daw is mayroon bang sapat na katibayan upang suportahan ang argumento ng may akda kung ang ebidensya ay nauugnay at sumusuporta sa thesis o ang pinangunahing punto na sinusubukang ipahiwatig ng may akda ay ang mga piraso ng ebidensya na nauugnay na kapani-paniwala at panapanahon. Are the source information credible? So ano daw, mapagkukunan ba daw ng impormasyon ay kapani-paniwala? Why did the authors take that particular position? That is the author's background that may have led to or influence his or her position. Bakit daw kinuha ng may akda ang particular na position kung ang background ng may akda na maaaring humantong o makaka-impluwensya ba daw sa kanyang position?
So ang atong lesson karon kay rereading o responding. Unsa man ang rereading? Rereading requires a repeated examination of the text to enable you to improve your comprehension of the text and to identify ideas that you may not have noticed in initial reading. So ang sabot ini ka nang basa-basahon nimo balik para makasabot ka o ma-improve imong pagsabot niini sa mahimong text nga imong gibasa. O ang isa niini is responding. So unsa man ang responding? Responding after you have developed a clear understanding of the text, you are now ready to respond to the text. Kung unsay mo nasabtan sa mga imong text nga imong gibasa, dapat andam ka motubag sa text nga imong gibasa. Kana lang.